In this video, I'm going to do something similar and show you a bar graph. Now, once you get used to working with charts, you'll notice a lot of the tools are the same, right? How you edit the title, how you can change, different background colors and styles. It all kind of works very similarly for different kinds of charts. So I'll show you some key features here. We're going to do a column chart here or a bar graph. So here I'm on the page or the tab that says returns. So I'm on the worksheet that says returns here. And again, I'm going to select my data and I'm going to select it including my labels here. Now, again, you can use the quick analysis feature. You can also go to insert here. And again, you can see different column charts here. So column or bar chart. Here's a statistic chart. So here for us, probably column or bar chart. Again, you can choose one of these to enter. So this is a cluster column, and it does help if you're trying to compare different types of data side by side. So you can see here that we have two different main types of data, right, that we're really looking at. So a cluster is really nice here. This is a stacked column, which is helpful more for totals. So if you're looking at the totals, and that's really what you want to look at, it will stack the different components on top. So you can see the overall total and then how much is contributing to each piece as well. 100% stack column is the same idea, but it's done by percentages instead of values. So for this one, I'm definitely going to use a clustered column. I can also go to recommended charts instead. And again, that is one of the ones they recommend here. So you can kind of just click through and preview what it would look like as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert that clustered column. Now, like with the other ones, you may want to move this. So maybe I would like to move this chart like I did with my other one to the summary sheet, right? So I can go ahead and move that chart over. My summary sheet is getting a little bit busy, so I do want to be careful that I don't overload certain worksheets here. So I'm going to make my other chart a little smaller here. And I'm going to go ahead and move this one, make sure I select the right part of it, and just kind of adjust and move that. All right, maybe we'll make it smaller first. It's a little hard to adjust, so I'm trying to do zoom at the same time and not click anything on the zoom features, and then also kind of this around. It's not working well for me. All right, so another thing I can do is I can control and copy this, and hopefully I can control and paste it down here. All right, so that works too. So I'm just going to use control copy. I'm going to copy that chart and just paste it because I'm having a hard time clicking and dragging with so many things open on my screen. And then what I did is I just deleted the other one. So I selected it and deleted it. Now you could cut too, of course, right? Cut and then paste. I tend to like to copy just in case I make some silly mistake. I know I haven't totally messed everything up in case the back button doesn't work. So I just copied that and moved it. That's another way that you can move your charts. And again, if you want to resize this, you can resize it. And using that Alt key will help you to line up with the edges of the cells if that's something that you want to do here. All right, so there is my clustered column chart. And again, we can just kind of play around a little bit. So this one doesn't have a chart title, so I can maybe double click on that chart title and you'll see that a cursor will open and I can actually start typing. So I can call this whatever I want. Maybe I'm going to call it month end returns. And then when I'm done, I could just hit any other spot within the chart or even outside that chart, right, to kind of get out of there. And I have that title fixed. Again, if you want to fill in your title or things like that, you can go ahead and add a fill feature. I don't know why you'd really want to fill the title, but you could, right? Maybe if I want to fill it, that looks kind of nice. You could add borders as well, right? Would I like to add a border around my chart? Maybe I would. So again, I'm clicking the chart here and I can add different features to it. So I can get that border away. I can go ahead and add a border around it and so on. And you can also click different parts within the chart, right? So if I select the overall chart, it's going to affect the overall chart. If I select just the title section, then again, that's where I have that gradient fill, solid fill, that doesn't work. We'll do gradient fill there as well. And you can work with just that particular piece, right? So I can see now my border went just around the title. So it depends on where you click in the chart that will get affected. All right, so just some things again that you guys can kind of look at and play around with there as well for your different options. And again, I can change my formatting. You can see I can change my my font here. I can change my size, and I can go ahead and do that stuff as well. So you can go ahead and play around with some of those features. You have your regular chart features here. So you have, would you like your axes? Do you want axes title? So it's a little hard to see. Let's make this a little bigger. And you can see that these axis titles kind of put in here on the top, and there's one on the bottom. So if you want to have axis titles, you can. And, you know, you can decide specifically which ones you want. Do you want them to be filled in and so on? So a lot of times I do like axes titles. This case, it's a little bit overwhelming, and I don't really need it because I do have a legend here. But for other graphs where, you know, it's important to label what the axes mean, you can add those in. You have your chart title up top. And again, I have it above the chart, but you could use a different option if you like. I do have grid lines here, so you can turn those grid lines on and off. I personally like grid lines as a math person. I don't need too many, but I need enough so I can kind of visually follow across where all those bars are lining up. And again, if you click that right arrow, you can play around a little bit more. So we have major horizontal grid lines in, but you can also add minor ones. You can see little ones fill in the background. You could also add in vertical ones too, if you find that helpful. Here, the vertical ones I find a bit distracting, so I'm going to get rid of those. But again, it is helpful sometimes to have some sort of grid line to help the eye determine really the heights of those bars. It's going to depend on the kind of graph that you have. And remember that our information should always be clear and easy to read. And not confusing, right? Our charts are meant to help people understand. They should not be confusing people or hiding information. They should make the information very clear and easy to follow. And I can't stress that enough. So again, if you want to add in data labels, you could do that. Add in the table at the bottom. Again, it's a little messy here because it's a little bit tight, but you can see that there's just a lot of options that you can do, right? If you want to add in the different parts. So you can kind of play around with those features there as well. Like before, you do have different styles. So again, you can see some different styles here that maybe you would like better. Okay, oh, I like the way that looks better. I like the way this looks. I personally don't like that one. Right? Maybe you like this one better and so on. So again, you can play around with the different themes, different colors as well. If you're not liking that, you know, blue and green, you can try something different and tweak your style as needed. Right? And same thing, you could edit the data that's being used and so on there in your graph. A couple other things that you can do. Like I said, you can click on different parts of the graph. Notice here also that this bar is going down because you have a negative value there. So that's why you have that one on underneath. You can see you're going towards negative returns in that case. So someone who is losing money on that part. And you can also click into the bars. So there's a few things that you can notice. I know if I click the bars, they're being highlighted. Oops. And again, you can kind of go ahead and tweak some of those things as well. So again, if I just right clicked on the bar, I can change the fill color. I can outline them. Sometimes it is nice to outline your bars if they're like a little hard to see, for instance, like there, I just outlined that bar. So I just clicked on the bar and I right clicked and that was able to open for me. So I could outline. That's one way to do it. You can also double click on the bars and this whole thing will open on the side as well. And you can go ahead and edit, again, fill color that way, borders, and so on by double clicking. Now, one thing I want to show here is this piece at the bottom. So series overlap and gap width. The series overlap tells you how close to get these bars. Now, when that percentage is 0, those bars are touching. So that is really helpful if you're trying to do specifically a histogram, which is a type of bar graph where the bars actually do touch. So you can make that 0, like in this case here. This is, I guess, like a modified version, right? Where you want those bars touching, and you could use a 0. If you want them to be a little bit apart, you're going to use a negative. So maybe negative 10% instead. Just gives them a little bit of a gap. If that's not enough for you, maybe negative 20%. Again, it gives a little bit of a gap between those bars. If you do a positive value, they actually overlap, which you really don't want. I can't think of an example where you would. I'm sure there's an exception out there somewhere. But usually you either want your bars a little bit apart or touching if you're using a histogram. The gap width here is between the different sets. So it's at 219 now. We could change it to 300%. You can see you get that narrowing of the bars. If I change it to 200%, I get that widening of the bars. So that gap width is decreasing there 100%. Again, you're getting just wider bars as well, so that you're getting a smaller width in between. So again, it really is a lot to play around with in these features for your different kinds of charts.